Facebook is safe. We block all those who claim we are censoring content. We are not harvesting your data, creating dossiers on the public, and selling your info. Why would we do such a thing?
Seeing the Easter Island pictures of art next to the Göbekli Tepe art is all I had to see. As a chief legislator, that's all a trier of fact needs to see to know Göbekli Tepe is nowhere near as old as they are claiming.
That Jason showed that the zodiac isn't even old, that the Greeks invented it, blew my mind. I'm a Christian now, and our scriptures tell us that stuff's evil.
Jason was publishing about the Mayan long count not ending in 2012, way back before 2012. This dude is shaking the nest. His discoveries on calendars and ancient moon and day count calendars is putting some of these guys to shame.
Remember, we are actors. We are paid to lie. We are rich because we are good at what we do.
Anyone at this point who can't see that the Jews copied Babylonian tablets to write Genesis is blind. Jason's Dark Scriptures playlist shows this perfectly.
That the New Testament is a collection of forged texts put together centuries after the events they depict.
This guy has called the entire ancient aliens community to debate. Like Tyson, they ain't getting in the ring.
Jason says one who is properly informed is not easily deceived. I would like to see Jimmy Corsetti or Matthew LaCroix debate Jason about this Atlantis dating issue. No one's really interested in Bill Carson's opinion anymore.
His findings on the procession hoax, the change of the year from 360 days to 365, man, this changes everything in archaeoastronomy.
You know, I'm not a doctor. I have no medical background. I'm an actor. And even I know Atlantis was the 13th century BC.
Jason has dropped massive data sets on the Old Testament, not even being old, but from the Greek era.
You think we took you for a ride? Wait till the new Christian Reich takes control. It won't be American, and it sure ain't Christian.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, you know, when Jason showed that the Jewish calendar was completely made up, I mean, you know, damned, how are we going to know what year it is now?
Yeah, the Shar being a day and not a year totally murders a lot of books out there. That's the reason these guys don't want to talk. Jason killed their little pet theories.
It all came true. Jason said I was going to be a part of fake news, just like Billy Carson.
I tried to sniff Jason one time, but Big John stopped me. I think Jason would have been into it, though.
Don't forget, we are actors. We are paid to lie. We are rich because we are good at what we do.
I wasn't so sure about this RKX thing, but AIX is certainly worth looking into.
I'm most impressed that Jason is not going to tell you something. He's going to show you.
RKX shows us if you record enough facts, the answers just stare you in the face.
A man who knows the facts is unafraid to joust with contrary opinions. That's Jason.
I can't have that dude on my show. You know how many guys I've had on here who are running from that dude? Be a mess.
Jason says being wrong gets us closer to being right.
You got to break free or die trying, guys.
RKX showed me how to see if there was a tater in them onions.
Listen, RKX isn't one guy against the Matrix. That's dumb. No, it's a family of souls waking up.
If I've learned anything since finding RKX, if something is true somewhere, it's probably true everywhere.
Jason said if it's true, we can see it from multiple different vantage points.
So I broke pattern and went up there and slapped that guy. Total pattern break.
If you get stumped, you got to break pattern.
Jason says you don't need to know how to read, you need to know how to think. I think that's where I went wrong.
Jason figured it out. People are smart and they can decide for themselves if something is true or not.
No, I don't have anything to hide. I just don't want Jason anywhere near my accounting files.
There's a bunch of us who don't listen to RKX. We signed a different deal. I think it's AIX or something.
Come on, Billy. Everyone knows Atlantis wasn't 12,000 years ago. It was in the 1800s or something.
Atlantis 10,000 years ago? Even I'm not that dumb.
Come on, G, you can't contain this. You're going to sink like Atlantis.
Billy Carson is fake news, the fakest news. Jason has proven that. After careful analysis of Jason's data sets, I agree with you, Billy. Don't debate him.
The cat's out of the bag, Billy. Jason's data set proves you're wrong about Atlantis.
Billy, even I can see that the Atlantis narrative isn't dated correctly. Hear Jason out, man.
Hey bro, you running from this debate isn't a good look for your research. Just debate him already.
Billy, don't be scared to debate, man. I'll have you guys on the podcast.
Man, hello, hello. Let me move this over here so I can see what I'm doing. Slightly different screen. Let's get that audio check out of the way. Make sure everything's right. Let's see. Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you. All right. I got a really good presentation. Got some pretty funny stuff in it. I'm a little tired. I got a guy that lives on my property. He got real sick last night. So been trying to keep an eye out for that. You guys know it was on this property here. I got real sick one time about 3 years ago. I ended up in on a respirator, and then a vapor therm, and then an oxygen tank for over a month. I just got to watch out, because some of these things going around here, they mimic the flu, and next thing you know, you're in ICU, can't even breathe. So, other than that, some strange stuff going around. There was some stuff in California too. Because Dad and I went to California to go visit family, and we couldn't even see half of them because they didn't want us to come near them, and they were hacking up stuff. Some weird, I don't know, man. They said it was worse than the flu. Yeah, I didn't want to go investigate. I took their word for it. All right. So, special presentation on monsters, beasts, all kinds of beings, trolls, hobwalkies, goblins, ghouls, whatever, because it comes from a most fascinating book. Everything in this, everything in black and white that I'm going to present to you, over like 120, 130 pictures, are from a single text, a single book that collected all these woodcuts, engravings, statuary, illustrations for hundreds of years, giving us the traditions of these creatures. But there's some other monsters I'm going to present. You've never heard of these monsters, though you may be familiar with them. Lemon water, ambrosia. Okay, let me get that out of my remove from studio. There we go. So, a couple announcements. I just merged all my little AI spoof little videos together in one deal. So instead of showing all separate ones, it's a good long intro to show you. Basically, this is going to be a very educational video. It's also going to have quite a bit of humor. Now, let's see. As you know, I posted in X and I posted on YouTube that the Archaics Coffee, Aaron's Choice Coffee, has gone live. So I've already drank some of it. I was lucky to be the very first person to order a bag. I did that just to see if how the ordering went down, and how smooth the transition was going to be in ordering a bag of coffee and having it mailed. It's pretty smooth. So maybe I should show you. Let's present my screen real quick. Let's share screen. Share screen. I'm gonna walk you through it before we get 1,000 people here in the chat. Oh, I got a very serious live video on Christmas Day at 2 p.m. I know I frustrated a lot of people with my Christian videos, and I'm gonna tell you now, you got If you think the Christian story was historical, no, I'm going to remove that. If you think the Christian story was historical, then you're probably going to have a lot more problems with me through 2025. But if you really want to know what Jesus' teaching, his core teaching is, which is missed by most, I'm going to break it down for you on Christmas Day at 2 p.m. We're going to go through what Jesus actually said and what Jesus did, what he was physically doing while he said it. Yeah. If you're immersed in the materium, then the interpretations that you're going to derive from the words of Jesus are materialistic. And you're going to think that it is the outside things of the world that Jesus was talking about. But if you're connected to source, if you are a highly individualized soul and you know that you're not a part of this world, then the words of Jesus take on a totally new and deeper meaning. And I'm going to break it down for you on Christmas Day, 2 p.m. Texas time. I guess I'll show these. I guess I can show these. So here's just half. This isn't even half of the books. These are all books demonstrating that the Jesus story was not historical and how the church fabricated and made up all these texts. This isn't even half of the ones in my library. Yeah, these are some amazing, profound. These are mostly old reprints. All this stuff was worked out during higher criticism of the late 1800s and earlier 20th century. Yeah, but we're not gonna dwell on that. Let's put this back. This is the other half of the stack, but it's still not all the books. I had to reorder another one that I'm missing from my library because every time I loan it out, nobody ever gives it back. And that's a Carya S. Murdoch. She's passed away now, but she wrote the greatest story ever sold, The Christ Conspiracy. And it's not a part of this stack. Here's the book I talk about all the time, but I should be introducing you guys to Gerald Massey so you would understand. The entire Jesus story, even at that time period, was absolutely known to be a story only. They took a literary masterpiece and turned it into a Greek stage play, played out in the amphitheaters. That's why the curtains open, the curtains shut. It's a whole different scene with Jesus somewhere. That's why every single thing in the gospel narrative, it's so evocative when you watch it. You watch it in your mind as you're reading it. It is so visual. Why? Because it was a stage play. So anyway, but the teachings are amazing. That's what made the Christian mysteries. We're going to go into the teachings and the actual actions of Jesus in each scene because it takes on totally different meaning. That's not an argument. D34N at 12:19. Jason, genuine question. Can you explain why, by so many accounts, the name Jesus Christ has significant power against evil spirits? Of course I can explain that. I've done it many times. It's no different in India. When the priests in India exercise their power over the Rakshasas, it's no different in any culture. We live in a psychosomatic reflective medium, and it's going to react in the way that you expect it to react. If you lend power to any phenomenon, then the construct will reflect that back as circumstances in order to justify the belief. This is how it traps you in dungeon programming. Yeah, we are the artificers. We are the authors of our own reality tunnels. And the reality tunnel is made up of programming that will reflect back to you as circumstances, the very things that you project and expect to be reflected back to you. If you think there is power in a name, then I assure you there is power in that name. I've got many videos. You seem to be very unfamiliar with my We Immortals playlist. In my We Immortals playlist, I break these fundaments of the construct down for you so you would understand exactly what's happening. There is no one independent faith that is correct in the world. What is correct is whatever you project to be true, and you see the construct reflect back to you as something experienced. Highly individualized soul versus the collective. There's only two realities here. You got to figure out which one you're in. You phase back and forth on a daily basis between the personal and the collective. But that's not the subject matter of this video. We're talking about monsters. But 2 days from now, on Christmas, yeah, we're talking about some real stuff. Some real deep spiritual material. All right, let's see. Hey, Neanderthal. So I was sharing my screen a minute ago, wasn't I? Sure was. So I believe this is the... Okay, yeah, I was sharing my screen. So what I'm going to do real quick, just so I don't confuse matters, I want to make sure you guys see what I see. So I'm going to look at it right here on YouTube as well. Well, they're still going after Billy Carson. Every time I open my YouTube, it's a new video. It's crazy. All right, there we go. All right, y'all see my beautiful home screen. That's what you see. So we're going to open up this other screen here. Look at that. Look at that beautiful phoenix. Look at that baby phoenix. This is the home page for the new coffee site. This is the home page for the new coffee site. You can see it. This is Aaron's Choice Coffee for those who want to wake up. Thank you, Meryl. Thank you, Meryl. As soon as in Virginia Beach, the story, real quick, is that you guys know a few months ago, before the Virginia Beach meetup, I had made a comment on a video that, hey guys, you know Archaics has no sponsors, and I don't put ads in the middle of my videos. I just haven't really found a product I resonate with that I'm willing to do, but I drink coffee, and I made a remark saying, you know what, but if somebody approached me about some good coffee, I might be doing coffee commercials. Well, this is a coffee commercial for Archaics Coffee. The brand is Aaron's Choice. Got some pretty funny stuff. But these two guys showed up in Virginia Beach and pitched the whole deal. And it was pretty compelling. Also, when Meryl heard the name Aaron's Choice, she just sat there and said, for those who want to wake up. And it just, everybody who heard it was like, yep, there's the tagline. You can't make that one up. Here it is, Phoenix Blend. Now, you just can't make this stuff up. Phoenix Blend coffee right here. You got to read this. Hey there, Aaron's and coffee lovers. Did you know a reset is triggered every time 13.8 ounces, 138, of freshly brewed Phoenix Blend is poured into your mug? Wow. So good. I love the way they put that down. Here's Breaking Free Coffee. Medium roast, Breaking Free Coffee. Tired of starting your morning in a feedback loop with the same boring dungeon coffee? Yeah, you guys can read these yourself. We got, Dark Satellite Roast. Indulge in the bold, rich flavors of our Dark Satellite coffee. Carefully crafted with a deep roast and balanced acidity, this premium blend is sure to satisfy even the most discerning errants and coffee connoisseurs. There's more, but you can read it. Oh, what is this? MPC coffee? Medium roast. Oh, that's why. Medium roast decaffeinated. NPC coffee. Introducing Aaron's Choice NPC coffee with non-participating caffeine. Wow. These guys are too much. Uh-oh. One of my most spiritual videos ever, the Ephesian Night. It's called Be the Ephesian Night. Here it is, Ephesian Night, medium dark roast. Put on your morning armor with Ephesian Night coffee. A bold tasting medium dark roast that blends the rich flavors. Listen to me, I sound like a car salesman. Wow, they did a really good job. There's 6 different types of coffee on here right now. I don't know if I skipped one. Break Free, Phoenix Blend, Fusion Night. I don't know. There's 6 different coffees. Ordering was easy. I ordered the first one last night. It's all good. I like it. I like what they did. It's pretty cool. So it's already on archaics.com on the homepage. You can go straight to archaics.com. Oh, you know, I recently redid the homepage. Well, here it is. You got this on there too. I thought that was pretty cool. I even took some of their stuff, and I went ahead and did my own little ad for later. Uh-oh, there's the real, that's the real Jesus right there. That's 2 days from now. That's going to be on Christmas Day. The real teaching of Jesus. That's going to be a deep video, guys. It's probably going to be one of my most popular videos because I'm not holding back. Aaron's Choice Coffee for those who want to wake up right there. Man, I love that baby Phoenix. All right. So YouTube's going to be a little bit slower today. I understand because it is the holidays. A lot of people are spending time together. So I appreciate you guys being here. It's all good. And we've got some stuff to look at. So let's get into it. If I had another announcement, I don't even remember. There's the coffee. Yeah, Lady Rocks. 2 days from now, you got Christmas Eve off. All you Archaics veterans and moderators, you're gonna want to be here because we're gonna do the deep Jesus talk. Yeah, Jason's a poster guy for the coffee. Yeah, man, I do love my coffee. All right, so I'm still sharing my screen, so let's go ahead and let's get this party started. It's a most fascinating book, guys. It really is. So I need to see exactly what it is you guys see. All right. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So this is what you guys see. I don't really. Okay, so I got multiple screens. I'm just getting used to it because I'm not really sure what you see compared to what I see. All right, so that'll go there. And me, I'm going to put this here. I just got to make sure that you guys see what I see. All right, cool. Well, that'll go here. There we go. Yeah. All right. Cool. Mythological animals from basilisks to uniform. Tom O'Malley. At the very bottom, you can barely read it. He says, "Here be dragons." This is a most unusual book. Acquired in my travels with some other unusual books. Reliquae Deluvinae. I just want to show this to you real quick. I know I'm sharing my screen. I want to show this to you. Book was written in the 1820s. It's a scientific book about all the animal and human remains that have been found crushed up into cave systems all over the world. It is a book before uniformitarianism emerged. Catastrophism was the scientific model. This book is a reprint of a very old book, scientific book, that basically explains that the only way all these humans and animals were all crushed up and matted together in all these caves is because of a cataclysm, and this is where they were fleeing to get away from the sky when they were crushed up in there with mud floods, sedimentation, flooding, diluvial deposits, and all that. It is a book supporting the idea that the world was flooded. We'll be getting into that one. And of course, we'll definitely be getting into this old gem too. This is acquired on my travels, actually donated. This one was donated by a friend. Earthseeing Sky, Marvels of the Universe. I'm not going to show it all. I'll show it to you later. But this is just amazing stuff, full of illustrations, written in the 1800s of all, basically, the mysteries of the world. Before uniformitarianism just kind of took over and started reinterpreting what we see. Just like it did at Meteor Crater, Arizona, where you are bombarded with all NASA imagery, space-related imagery, before they even let you lay eyes on the actual crater itself. Even though on the map in Arizona, there are volcanoes local, and some of them are even called craters, they want you to believe that Meteor Crater in Arizona was a space rock. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. So you guys can see that pretty good. Here's a little blow up. Pretty interesting unicorn. Unicorns have never existed, guys. A lot of these are just different types of animals that were unrecognized. Over time, animals have become extinct, like ibex, like cave bison, stuff like that. Really interesting pictures. This is on the back cover. I don't know what that creature is. They didn't know either. You can see that ship's going the other way. Now, for those of you familiar with my Chronicon research, you'll know that a French warship called the Electon, actually a modern French warship. I say modern, it was like in 1897, 1898. But the French warship, the Electon, actually had to fight off a giant Kraken. It's in the historical record. I have it in my Chronicon, but they literally had to fend off giant tentacles from a beast under the Atlantic. That's the French warship Electon. And you also know from my Chronicon and other interesting posts I've done in the past, where I've posted the reports of German U-boat captains in World War I and World War II who reported very unusual creatures living deep under the ocean, and they could observe them from their U-boats. All right. All right, over 1,000 people in the chat. Let's do it. Thank you, Tam O'Malley. Thank you, Tam O'Malley, for putting this together. These are old woodcuts and bronzes and illustrations, lithographs, some interesting stuff. You guys have seen that before. It's called a Lamasu, ancient Babylon. So I'm gonna show you some things out of this book. They're just really interesting. That's the old Lamasu there. Griffin. A harpy. Like from Jason and the Argonauts and all that. Oh, hippocampus. I'm not sure who that is. What that is. Is that Cecrops? I don't know. We'll read about it here in a minute. This is just the intro showing different illustrations that we'll be talking about later. That's a pan, a satire. Man, how long is that intro? Oh, there it is. That's it. So, guys, it's the thank you, Sweet Oversoul. We love the Oversoul. Yeah, the real teaching of Jesus is going down, Sweet Oversoul. Something I've been needing to do, but I just went ahead and chose Christmas Day for that. So, the Banshee. The Irish can tell you about the Banshee, and so can the Scottish Highlanders. The Welsh also have their version of the Banshee as well. The banshee normally appears as an elderly hag, an old woman. Some people believe she's a disembodied spirit, but when she begins keening, this horrible, horrific female wailing. This is where this is where the traditions come for the wailing of the dead. When the Irish, the Scots, or the people, the Welsh heard the keening of the banshee, it was basically a death knell that somebody close by or within hearing or related to the hearer was about to die. So the traditions of the banshee go all the way back to the invasion of the Tuatha Dé Danann that started the modern Irish people. Compared to the Fomori, the previous race that was occupying ancient Ireland. Let's see, there was in the Welsh, the banshee is actually known as the Ribon Witch. And the only people that can even hear a banshee are those who have pure Celtic blood. There's another depiction of the banshee right there. You just don't want to be within earshot of the keening. You don't want to be around there. There are famous, like the Bunsworth Banshee is famous from the first illustration I showed you was from 1825. And now this one's just an illustration in an old book. Here's a banshee right here. This illustration literally says, if you don't have pure Celtic blood, you will never hear the wailing of the banshee. So we move from banshee to basilisk. Look at that ugly little bastard. Kind of chicken, looks like a chicken, got a crown, 8 legs, scales, a serpent tail. Yeah, that's a basilisk. Now, the difference between a basilisk and a cockatrice. There's a cockatrice. The difference in a basilisk and a cockatrice is only what comes out of the egg. Because both a cockatrice and a basilisk, they're born of a toad or a lizard. And they're born specifically during the days of Sirius. Sirius is the dog star. Sirius is the Anubis star. It is what the great Sphinx of Egypt used to be, a dog. So Sirius is the star venerated in the ancient world with Venus. But it's during the dog days of Sirius that cockatrices and basilisks are born. These are aberrations of nature. This was ancient Greek, Achaean, Pelagian beliefs. And let's see. Pliny the Elder warns that these creatures are like Medusa, and if you lock eyes with one of these creatures, you will turn to stone. This is Pliny the Elder believed this about the basilisk, although the belief in the basilisk was already old by the time Pliny was writing his material. I find that pretty interesting. So in the Middle East, Arabian, Saracen, Middle Eastern peoples of Arabic descent, they literally believed that the deserts themselves that they occupied were created by creatures like this. They were created by creatures like this as their dens. That's really interesting. I mean, what religion do you know that the god of that religion, his origin is from a desert? And deserts are the symbol of a world that has been completely destroyed, ruined. Yeah, I could tell you one that popped out of a burning bush in the middle of a wilderness. So yeah, these are really, that's a cockatrice right there. I really like this image here. This is Eve. This is the tree of life. That's probably a date tree. But here's Eve and the serpent in the beginning. Remember, serpent, Nahash, actually means interpreter or one who deciphers things, one who deciphers secrets. So it wasn't a real serpent, it was something else. And in this depiction from the Renaissance period, we find that the serpent Eve had come in contact with that offered her the fruit was none other than a personality, but that personality was attached to the idea of a destroyer of worlds, cockatrice, a basilisk. Yeah, that's compelling too. So we'll go do a little history here. This image here is from 1548. Melchior Lorch, the basilisk. Wow. That's ugly. So ugly. This is Gunther Zehner in 1470 right here. The artist is named Gunther Zehner. And this image here of the cockatrice shows the weasel. The weasel is the only creature in the world that cannot be hurt by the cockatrice and the basilisk. The weasel is the only creature that can fight it off and it doesn't turn to stone. Interestingly, according to this book, the weasel also has a poisonous or a venomous bite. I don't know if that's true or not. I would have to fact check that. But the ancient Greeks and Romans believed the weasel's bite was venomous or poisonous. Maybe you get sick. Maybe, I don't know. But it's a weasel for the win. It's definitely a weasel for the win. Oh, we got some really interesting monsters, and you guys are going to have some aha moments as you see some of these of how these creatures have been used in modern symbols and in modern stories and even in the biblical text. Remember, it's all about symbolism. So here's a real strange one. We're going to move on to a real strange one now. Look at this old art here. The Blimai and the Cyapods. Have you guys ever heard of these? These were an offset of humanoid monsters believed to be an ancient tribal race populating the regions of Africa, Ethiopia, and Egypt. Roman writers tell of them inhabiting Upper Egypt and Nubia. Generally docile, these humanoids were headless. Their eyes and their mouths were on their chests instead. Oh my God. Look at this. This is a belief, guys. This is in historical records. This is an actual belief of our predecessors. Now, particularly damning to the early church is the fact that Saint Augustine of Hippo, who was the official Roman church historian, who put all this material together that was later found out to be forgeries by scholars, actually said this about this race of people. Remember, this is somebody who spent his life at the behest of Rome, putting together texts and critiques and apologetic materials to try to convince you that the Jesus narrative was actually historical instead of literary. Here it is. This is what Augustine said, defender of the New Testament version of Jesus being historical. So in this country, we saw many men and women without heads, who had two great eyes in their breasts. And in countries still more to the south, we saw people who had but one eye in their foreheads. 410 AD was over 1,000 years after the traditions of the Cyclopes were already rampant throughout the Peloponnesus, Aegea, the Dardanelles, all throughout northern Mediterranean area. So I'm going to have to call bullshit on Augustine of Hippo. He didn't travel to throughout Africa and go see this race that had, what he did was cite older sources of people who claimed the race existed. And then to try to add a little flavor to it to make it sound very believable so it's not so fantastic, he adds in something that everybody across the board already knew about. and that was the ancient existence of the Cyclopes, the Cyclops, the one-eyed giants. Yeah, he's a fibber. He's a fibber. Thought that was pretty interesting about Augustine being in there. So anybody who comes to the table trying to employ apologetic strategies in the defense of the Jesus as a historical narrative figure, believe me, I've got some real interesting quotations from all the church fathers that they're going to have to answer to. Because when it comes to the story of Jesus, I'm not going to let them cherry pick. So, look at that. Look at this. Crazy. Very imaginative. So, there's a lot of writers who claim this race existed. Augustine of Hippo, being a church authority, now people start citing him, like John Mandeville in his travels, Sir Walter Raleigh. It's crazy. So we also have the Cyapod, also called the monopod. You know what a monopod is? It's a one-footed man. There it is right there. The monopod. It's a human with hips that merge into a single leg and 1 foot. There's no way this man could have ever got around. But yeah, these illustrations are from 1599, Brevis and Admiranda, Descriptio Regii, Genii. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing all that right. And 1421. This is all in microprint. Such a small book, but it's the microprint is very tiny. Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, when it comes to Augustine making up stories about the real from the imagined, you can already tell it fails miserably. Fails miserably. Look at this. You guys know what these are. You guys already know what these are. These are centaurs. Centaurs, and I don't see any satires in there, but there may be. There may be a satire in there, but these are centaurs. Now, I've already revealed earlier in my presentations, like a couple of years ago, that the idea of the centaur came from when a more primitive people came into contact with a agrarian culture that had already domesticated the horse. Having never seen horses before, when they disembarked their ships, they didn't know what they were looking at. They saw humans from the waist up, and they probably didn't understand that underneath the armor and leather of the horse were the men's legs. So when their ships were repelled, when they invaded the coast by horsemen, they thought it was one creature and not a man on top of a beast. And this gave rise to the legend of the centaurs. This is where we get Apollo. Apollo was educated in all the medicinal arts by Chiron. Chiron means the hand, but this was an old tribal symbol for these people. It was a totem symbol, the hand. And Chiron was sophisticated, and he knew medical information, and he taught it to Apollo, who taught it to his son, the god of medicine, Apollo Pharmakia. Matter of fact, there's Chiron right there teaching somebody. Let me see who he's teaching. Yeah, ancient centaur belief of Chiron derives ultimately from Thessaly, sometimes called the Ono centaur. The shape of a man down to the waist, and behind was the make of an ass. So some of them had a donkey quarters. Some of them were not. So Chiron. Oh, Achilles. That's Achilles right there. This is the centaur teaching Achilles. This would be, since it's Achilles, we're talking about 13th century BC. Because Achilles fought in the War of Ilium in the 10th year at Troy on the battlefield. Achilles So we're talking 1299 to 1229 BC. And since Achilles is very young here, I'm going to say this is around the time of the Seven Against Thebes, around 1242, 1244 BC. This is before the Trojan War. This is when Achilles was very, very young. So let's see. Fresco. This is very interesting because you're looking at a Roman fresco that was preserved in the buried city of Herculaneum. It's preserved. That's what makes this all the more valuable. You don't have, listen to me now. When you're looking at this, you're looking at a 2,000-year-old mural. It may have already been 200 or 300 years old before it was painted. It was buried in pumice in volcanic ash in the city of Herculaneum in the year 79 AD when Pliny the Elder, who gave us a bunch of this information, had died in that volcanic eruption of Mount Vesuvius. So Herculaneum was one of the pleasure resort little sex cities, just like Pompeii. These are Roman resort cities. To see this right here is a window back into 2,000 years ago, because looking at a Renaissance picture, it has all the markings of its era. You can tell it's more modern and it's divorced of more antique methods or just really authenticity. But this right here, this is a mural from 2,000 years ago. It's not redone and it's not a Renaissance or Middle Age era. It's not a Victorian era painting that's a copy of an older painting. That's an original that was found on a wall in Herculaneum. So this is 1520 AD. An early description of fauns at play in the city of London. So these are fauns. Now remember, what is the difference between this and this? Remember, I've showed you in previous presentations that in the 1st century AD, we have lifelike, almost photocopy paintings in Egypt on tombs and coffins. The coffin busts are amazing because they were lifelike paintings of the very people that had died and were in those coffins. This is all during the 1st century BC and the 1st century AD. The reason I even mentioned it before is because why do we not have a single painting of a 1st century Jesus? We have paintings of hundreds of people who were alive in the 1st century. So this is the difference. Look at the difference. This is 2,000 years ago. This existed right after the crucifixion. This painting probably was there during the days of Jesus, if Jesus was truly alive. This painting existed. What happened by 1520? Look at this. What happened? Well, if you're an Archaics veteran, you know what happened. It's called the year 522 AD, the beginning of the 25-year Justinian darkness. Absolute total systemic reset. Human population all the way down to about 5% worldwide. We started over, and it's on the pattern of 1656 years. What was the age of the Great Flood? When did the Great Flood happen? The Great Flood of Noah happened according to the book of Genesis in the year 1656, the 1656th year. The same year given by Moses Maimonides. The same year given by Josephus, 1656. The same year given by U.S. cryptologist and chronographer R.A. Boulay. It's the same year given to us over and over and over and over and over and over in many different ancient texts. It was always the 1,656 years that total destruction happened. And 522 is on that 1656 year patterning. That's what happened. That's the difference between this 2,000 years ago and then this right here. About 1,000 years after that total systemic restart, a whole new Adam and Eve era for the human family that we call the Dark Ages. More centaurs. What is this? What year is this? Centaur Henrik Hondius I of Holland, circa 1610. All right, woodcut. See, and this other one is from the Inferno, 1861. Centaurs on the Attack by Gustave Doré. Gustave Doré. Oh, that's Dor. In the Inferno, 1861. That was this one here. The very first one I showed you. Right here. 1861. Not very old. That's old. That's 500 years ago. And this one is 400 years ago. This one's 420 something, 410 something years ago. Or actually, it's 414. 1610 was 414 years ago. Imagine that. 138 times 3. All right. That's what we got here. Oh man, it's about. We're gonna get to the juicy, guys. We're gonna get to the juicy. We got some real interesting stuff going on. So, all right. That's a beautiful picture. So this is Chimera. The liminal Chimera, she-goat, is mentioned for the first time in Book 6 of the Iliad, by Homer, approximately 850 BC. Venerates this twisted daughter of Typhon, the Phoenix, of being of divine stock, lion's head, goat's body, and dragon tail. The Greek poet Hesiod tells in his Theogony about 700 BC of a great and terrible creature, swift of foot and strong, the Chimera, the beast possessing 3 heads, as she is so depicted in 5th century bronzes. Hesiod also names Echidna, the half-woman, half-snake, consort of Typhon, as the mother of the Chimera. So these are all Phoenix-related. These are Phoenix-related creatures here. Wow. Yep, it is Phoenix-related because the Chimera is defeated when you use a Pegasus. That's a Phoenix. Marquez veterans, you already know. 1687 BC. Perseus, the destroyer, cuts off the head of Medusa. Sacrificial victim. Holds it up to fight off the Kraken, which is the personification of the Phoenix. How do we know? Because the sun is darkening. That's the Phoenix phenomenon. It happens all the time. It is not the moon covering the sun. Andromeda, the chained maiden, the daughter of Cepheus and his wife, who offended the gods and caused the Phoenix phenomenon to happen. Perseus comes and offers a sacrificial victim. How do we know that it was a sacrificial victim? Because Pegasus, the winged horse, is actually a date moniker from the 15th, 16th, 17th century BC, when the Pelasgians and the Achaeans, to sacrifice to Poseidon, the god of the sea, the one who unleashed the Kraken, they used to run a white horse off of a cliff as a sacrifice to Poseidon. What is a white horse in Achaea? What does a white horse look like when it's falling off of a cliff in the wind into the ocean? A winged horse. That's your Pegasus. Further adding to the element of human sacrifice is the fact that Medusa had all these tentacles, and she turned things to stone with her stare. But these are just ancient concepts that were merged together later. The original Medusa is said in the Greek legends to be a very beautiful woman, but she offended someone, and she became a Medusa. How did she become a Medusa? The ancient Bronze Age institution in the Mediterranean of human sacrifice, the scapegoat, killing one member of society to save the whole community, was by putting a giant squid on top of a sacrificial victim's face. That sacrificial victim was almost always female. They put the squid on her face. What does the squid do? It has a beak. wraps around the face with tentacles and starts chewing the face off. Perseus in the legend saved Andromeda. She was chained to a rock, going to be given to the Phoenix, the Kraken. But in the story, he saves the maiden. So later on in the story, we have the origin of Medusa. The Phoenix phenomenon turns things to stone. Remember the trolls. The trolls, when the sun comes back, the later traditions claim that early in the morning when the sun comes up, if trolls are out at night, they turn to stone. That's what J.R. Tolkien did, but he didn't go deep enough. The real traditions is that when the sun darkens by the Phoenix phenomenon, that's when all kinds of weird creatures are able to move around, come around, do all kinds of things. But it's a 2-hour period. And then when the sun starts coming back, if they're caught on the surface, they turn to stone. They petrify. Medusa legend comes from the fact that a beautiful girl was selected to die for her community. They put a giant squid on her face. She was poisoned by jellyfish, so she couldn't struggle. This told the community that she was a willing sacrifice because she didn't fight back. What the community didn't know is the priest had already stung her with jellyfish. This was a common practice in the old Bronze Age. The giant squid started eating into her face, but she was rescued for whatever reason. But what do you think her face looked like after that? Yeah, Medusa. Hideously ugly. If you looked at her, you turned to stone, which was merging the Phoenix phenomenon material with that. So I've gone into great detail about the story in the stars, about Perseus, Andromeda, Cepheus, the Kraken, and the Phoenix. All those are constellations, and what the story says and how it dates to 1687 BC. I'm telling you that now because here is another. Typhon is also the Phoenix. We have more connections to creatures and monsters during Phoenix phenomenon right here with Typhon. We have the Chimera. These are the daughters of Phoenix. I know a bunch of you new to my channel. If you have not seen my Phoenix phenomenon videos and seen the data sets and seen the source materials and the actual pictures, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about right now. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. There's another Chimera type creature. Let's see. This is 1496 in the city of Rome. Right here. 15, let's see. That's above. And then Jacopo Lagozzi, around 1600, drew this. That's from the year 1600. Huh. Interesting. And this is from 1544 right here. These are Chimera. Chimera are the daughters and sons of Phoenix, Typhon, the great darkener of the sun, the destroyer. What's really interesting here is that in the book of Revelation, right before the Phoenix phenomenon of the sixth seal, what do you have? The tetramorph. Tetramorph has multiple heads. It's like a chimera, but it's a sanitized version that was designed by the Christians to copy the 4 quadrants, the 4 royal stars, but it's still the same concept. It comes from the older chimera. Oh yeah, we're just getting started, guys. We are just getting started. So we do get to Cyclopes. I don't know why they're showing this, because this is the famous Lion's Gate of Mycenae. But in Hesiod's Theogony, the poet tells us, this is like 28 centuries ago, that 3 Cyclopes or one-eyed giants were born of Gaia, Mother Earth, by the primordial Grecian deity Eranos. That's heaven. Basically, heaven and earth came together and produced 3 giants. They were Brontes, thunder, Steropes, lightning, and Arges, brightness. These are the siblings of the mighty Titans. I've got videos on the Titans, naming them, who they are, what their roles were, all that. Yeah, this is pretty good stuff here. So the Cyclopean walls of Mycenae dating to about 1500 BC. That may be true. That makes them post-Ogygian. The Ogygian deluge of 1687 BC, when Phoenix destroyed the Old Bronze Age in the month of May and started a 25-year darkness. I've talked about that quite a bit. That's a matter of fact, I've got 3 or 5. No, I've got 5 videos on the Ogygian deluge. I have 5 videos on my Phoenix Phenomenon playlist just about the year 1687 BC. According to this book, the Lion's Gate was 1500 BC. So this would have been after the reset. This would have been the rebuilding period. Because even in the Greek traditions, after the flood of Ogyges, ancient Greece was unoccupied for 189 years. For 189 years, nobody could live there. That's a very specific number from an ancient Greek legend. 189 years. So that's the Lion's Gate, about the Cyclopes. Here's the Cyclopes here. There's 3 of them. All 3 of them right here. They were metal workers. I don't know what the provenance of this is. Forge of the Cyclops by Cornelius Cort, 1533 to 1578. The forge is at Mount Etna by the gods. Well, that's a volcano. Of course it would be a forge. Of course it would be a forge. So interesting that the forge of the Cyclopes is where Apollo's arrows were made. Apollo's arrows deliver poisons to the victims. Remember, Apollo Pharmakia attacked the human race in 2020. That was the breaking of the first seal. You want your answers on how to decode the book of Revelation, especially the 7 seals, you'll get them out of Greek mythology. You won't get them out of Christian texts at all. This is what I've shown. The Christian and Judeo-Christian texts, they're going to mislead you and have you looking for things that will never happen. Man, it's pretty interesting. What do we got? What's this next picture here? Uh-oh. They got these ships chasing this Cyclops. He's trying to get somewhere too. And he's got a big old giant pipe that shoots flames. This is just an ancient memory that the metallurgist, it's basically an ancient memory of a race of people who were much larger, and they wore some type of device on their head that looked like it was a single eye. It was because they're forging metals. It was probably like a welder's mask, and it came out later by people who didn't understand. This is cargo cult phenomenon here, and the legend of the Cyclops is very much like the Centaur. Wasn't a half man, half horse. They didn't know what a horse was, so it looked like a man had the body of a monster. And with the Cyclops, you're dealing with indigenous people who are very small, like Iberic stock. And they come into contact with huge men, like Viking-sized men or even larger, and these men wear these interesting helmets or masks that protect their eyes. So it could have been focused down to one lens, like a special forces paratrooper, a midnight lens, one of those thermal luminescent lenses. So the Cyclops, there's nothing unusual about it. It's just a primitive culture trying to describe something more advanced. How do we know it was more advanced? We have to make it up. They're metallurgists. They're a forge. They're making all kinds of things. And even in the traditions, it shows them using weapons that were more advanced. Here's a pipe issuing fire. Why is it a danger? Because ships were wood. It's all very easy to put together. It's all very easy to put together, guys. Cargo cult phenomenon explains almost all the myths and legends and traditions of the ancient world. That's the Cyclopes. So, before we go into the next type of, before we go into the very next type, let me check my chat. I'm going to introduce you to another species of monster. It's going to blow your mind. Let's see. Yeah, Martin Davis. That used to be me 15 years ago. He said, Martin Davis said, Descendants of Atlantis by Carrie Boynton speculates on genetic manipulation in the underworld, combination of human and animal. It's a good read. Okay, that was me 15 years ago. Now in Archaics, as you guys have seen in many presentations, breaking things down to their core denominators, like the Centaur here and like the Cyclopes, we have a much better understanding. We don't have to introduce all the genetic manipulations and all that stuff. We have never seen a satyr. We have never seen a Centaur. We have never seen a Cyclops. Therefore, if something is true somewhere, then it's probably true everywhere. And this doesn't just mean in the present tense. It means also by coordinates in the field. The future and the past are coordinates. And if something is true in the ancient past, it's probably true as the future as well. And if something is true of the future and the past, then it's definitely going to be true in the present. So by this logic, I'm just going to have to, the book is probably very interesting, but right now I'm going to have to say that most of the images that I'm going to bring to your attention, and all these beliefs, it's cargo cult phenomenon. There are much easier ways to explain. Now, here's a creature here that's not so easily. I'm going to share my screen again. So let me stop sharing my screen. Okay, y'all, I'm seeing what y'all see. All right. Okay. We've seen, you guys know, you've all heard of Freddy Krueger. Everybody's heard of Freddy Krueger. Nightmare on Elm Street, classic 80s horror, slapstick, funny horror and all that. Listen, Freddy Krueger is a monster. Absolute monster. So, I'm going to have to introduce you to another one. Let's see here. All right. Let me present video file. Okay, I know you see that. That's Freddy Krueger. You've all seen Freddy Krueger. But what I want you to know is that there's a modern monster called Dunning-Krueger. Dunning-Krueger is a special species of creature that actually believes or holds themselves up to be an expert on things they absolutely know nothing about at all. Dunning-Krueger is now a psychological phenomenon. The Dunning-Krueger effect is when somebody believes themselves to be an expert for which they're not. And it's very obvious to anybody who actually knows whatever the subject matter is. So just like Freddy Krueger is just fiction and entertainment, you have to take these modern creatures as well as pure entertainment. Because when it comes to the facts they're wanting, they're just like Freddy Krueger, who will chase you in your dreams and do damage to you in your dreams. But in reality, they're only hurting your pocketbook when you buy their bullshit. That's Dunning-Krueger. It's a very modern creature. It's a modern monster. And it's just something we need to add this to our repertoire of monsters and creatures because it's real. Dunning-Krueger effect is when somebody speaks authoritatively about things for which they know very little. And they consider themselves to be an expert on matters that are so esoteric and are so weird in their own mind, they really believe that people are swallowing and buying this BS. The only problem with Dunning-Krueger is that it is a product of the times, meaning the general masses typically follow these Dunning-Krueger monsters because the general masses are ignorant. For those who have taken the time to examine material and to educate themselves, they're not scared of Dunning-Krugers in their sleep at all because they know the facts. The data sets don't lie. Dunning-Krueger monsters do. So I just wanted to introduce you guys to those Dunning-Krugers. Some water here. Oh, we've got more monsters than that. We're not done. We are not done. Yeah, man. I wasn't scared, Jason. You only attack teenagers. It's not dummy cougars. It's Dunning-Krueger. Krueger, like Freddy Krueger. And before that, the name is Dunning. You can look this up. It's not something I made up. Dunning-Krueger. It's a psychological effect. Yeah. Yeah, man. It's like you can tell some guy who talks about Anunnaki all the time, and then he's considered an expert because he's gone on, 200 podcasts. Well, in that time of never being opposed, in that time of never meeting somebody qualified to debate, in that time of basically given free reign by another species of monsters I'm going to introduce you to. You haven't heard of these before. I promise you, you have never heard of this species of creature, just like you have never heard of Dunning-Krueger monsters. I'm going to introduce you to another species of creature that makes the Dunning-Krueger monsters so effective. It's a whole nother species of monster. We'll see them here in a little while. But first, let's get back. Let's get back to it. Yeah, man. Dummy Krueger. That's funny. All right. Let's get back to share my screen. You know I got to talk out loud when I'm sharing my screen. Man, I love this feature. I've got 3 screens. I just found out just now in real time that the StreamYard app allows me to share which screen. I thought it was always just one screen. No, man. I get a choice which screen I want. Just learned something new, guys. That's interesting to me because I've always had one screen on my computer. And just recently, my dad bought me a present for Christmas. And it attaches to your computer and gives you 2 more screens. And you can move things from one screen to all 3 screens. And StreamYard recognizes I have 3 displays. That is amazing. All right, I need to get back to the presentation. So, where were we at? Oh, that's right. We're at the dragon. The dragon. Ancient light shall fight the dark, both predator and prey. Wing and tooth and talons fight the fallen and the fey. All futures are forgotten, past are unrecalled. The veil is now a mirror, shadows speak of fallen gods. Fields of battle in array, the eye is all that sees. Omens dark, what comes unknown. This war between the trees. Oh, I know some of y'all know what I'm quoting. Some of you know what I'm quoting. Here's the dragon. Thank you, Graybeard. He just locked down the definition of Dunning-Krueger. All right. So y'all are seeing what I'm seeing. So let's get on to it. This beautifully magical book. Dragons, winged four-legged serpents. Ancient times called the immortal Ladon. Tiamat. You guys heard of the seven-headed dragon, the mother of Typhon and all the other dragons that came later. Draconobes, Aethiopus, Vitra, Wormies, Pendragon, Olm salamanders, Komodo dragons. We already know. We don't have to go into a lot of details about dragons. We already know. Dragons is epic. And what most people say, if you unless you've been paying attention to archaics a lot, most people are unaware that dragons are calendar symbols. As a matter of fact, you see St. George and the dragon all the time, stepping on the dragon. You see little chrono symbols. You see dragons in different being used to show time in Mesoamerica, in reliefs, in Mayan reliefs. Dragons are always prominent. Serpent dragons are always prominent in ancient China and in the ancient Americas, and they're connected to the idea of passing periods of time. As a matter of fact, the Chinese zodiac is completely different than any other zodiac in the world. It has 11 common animals: mouse, rat, horse, ass, pig, whatever. It's got 11 common animals, but the one animal that's not common is a dragon. It's in the Chinese zodiac, but the zodiac was used for lunar timekeeping. This is why in ancient times, different cultures said that when 3 moons had passed, they would just call them dragons. 3 dragons had passed. And in the minds of the ancients, that, oh, okay, the dragon ate the moon 3 times. I know how much time that took. That's 3 months. So all right. So this is a Chinese dragon. Lung, Cantonese. We don't have to go into a lot of detail about that, but this one's Athanasius Kircher. You guys know that name. I showed a lot of his stuff. This is from the year 1665, 1 year before the Great Fire of London. Athanasius Kircher, right here. Oh, these aren't dragons anymore. Yeah, dragons are calendrical symbols. And I have a lot of material in archaics that covers that. We're going to move on because we can just go on. Dragons, when dragon caves are found, it's normally because there's something valuable from a previous civilization that was buried there. Treasure. So the whole idea of buried treasure comes from a dragon treasure, dragon hoard. Fairies, elves, goblins, pixies, and gnomes. Here they are. Sprites and leprechauns, elves, goblins, pixies, gnomes. The fairy folk. They are referred to as nymphs by the Greeks, pukas in Celtic mythology, and Vidyeshvaras in Indian folklore. Don't laugh at me, man. I can't pronounce this stuff. The offspring of the fairy queen, Mab, in Titania. Yeah, man, that's some Dungeons and Dragons stuff there. Look at that tree. It's a fairy tree. Not really sure what it means, what the tree is. Okay, it's just an illustration from Arthur Rackman's 1908 work on fairies. 1908, that's a nice illustration. So we get to ghouls. Ghouls are demonic entities which lurk within graveyards and other uninhabited places. They are said to feast on the flesh of any corpses held there. 19th century explorer Sir Richard Burton wrote, "Here an ogre, a cannibal. Ghouls are rather fearsome and do not seem to prey on humanity nearly through necessity. Their appetite is insatiable." So, according to him, ghouls avoid humans, but their appetite is insatiable. So ghouls would have been what they would have accused all these animal mutilations. When cattle, deer, elk, moose, goats, dogs are found in the wilderness and they've been eaten, or it looks like they've been eaten. We've seen this a lot. Now, in modern times, the new goblin is E.T., the alien. So all these things are now attributed to space aliens, all these cattle mutilations and all these all these real surgical removal of internal organs and all that. It's no different than the mowing devil. I've told you guys about this in the past. In the 14th and 15th and 16th century, when these crop circles appeared, and at nighttime strange lights would be seen, children would wake up disoriented as if they've been out all night doing things, and these weird rings would appear in the townsfolk would go out in the daytime and they would find these rings, and they're the same thing as modern agroglyphs, these crop circles, and they would put up all kinds of signs to ward off the mowing devil, because everything is by frames of reference. In the 14th, 15th, and 16th century, the European people were Christianized by then, so anything evil or misunderstood was of the devil. And they called it the mowing devil because something had gone into it. Had to be a devil because there was no evidence of anything going into the crop circles, and they did it under cover of darkness. And in the morning, there it was, a beautiful ring, and all the children in the village were acting very weird. This had happened many, many, many times. So here, a ghoul is responsible for having an insatiable appetite but avoiding humans. If you were playing Dungeons and Dragons, that would be called a beholder. Again, we're going by frames of reference. This is from 1786 in a novel called Vathek by William Thomas Beckford. Again, if we were to apply a cargo cult analysis to this, we're dealing with something that can float, that has a camera lens, and maybe because of the way it looks and it's floating, it's a drone. That it was later pretty much determined by people hundreds of years later, after a systemic reset, that it was some type of monster, because that's what their frame of reference would have been. They wouldn't have understand anything technological because that period of time had ended. Remember, I tell you guys all the time in my earlier years on Archaics that it only takes us 200 years to go from horse and buggy to Hadron Collider. We've been technologically advanced multiple times. Multiple times. Here's some ghouls. Here's some ghouls, flesh-eating zombies, right here. This is from Amina. Amina discovered with the ghoul from the tale of Sidi Newman in the 1001 Nights, Arabian Nights. And this is a child-eating ghoul drawn by Father Pinard, 1894. 1894. And this is an illustration from a copy of the Mahabharata from about the year 1800. Right here. Okay, so what is being depicted here, apparently, according to this guy, is that zombies are being executed. Zombies are being killed by cutting off their heads and throwing their bodies in a fire. So in the Mahabharata, an illustration in the Mahabharata for some reason is about killing all these people because they had become zombies. Wow. Not only had they become zombies, but there were ghouls out there turning them into zombies by biting them. I did not catch that when I first read this book. I didn't read the small print attached to the illustrations. That's crazy. So we're going to move away from that because we do have other accounts of human populations becoming zombified. I didn't know about this one. But now we're going to the Gorgons. The term Gorgon derives from the ancient Greek gorgos, dreadful, and Sanskrit gargana, guttural, which means guttural. So steno, oh my God, Uriel, and Medusa are Gorgons. According to Ovid, Medusa was once a beautiful maiden. Yeah, we already knew all that. Vain of her lovely hair. But after she was assaulted by Poseidon on the steps of Athena's temple, furious Athena transformed Medusa's hair into a crawling, writhing nest of vicious snakes. Ovid was 800 years after the Greek poets first appeared on the scene. Homer, Theognis, Hesiod. So they appeared right after the 300-year Mediterranean, the Great Mediterranean Dark Age, which started in 1135 BC by the Phoenix phenomenon. So that in itself was 552 years of Phoenix cycle after 1687 BC, the Great Ogygian Deluge caused by the Typhon in the 25-year darkness period. So what we have here is Ovid putting together pieces that he really didn't quite understand, but it's okay because he linked Medusa to Poseidon. What did I tell you about 1687 BC? That was the height of Mediterranean Poseidon worship when you wanted to sacrifice to the god Poseidon to calm the sea, you chased a white horse off a cliff and that horse went into the ocean to drown. So that's a winged horse, a Pegasus. Linking Medusa to Poseidon shows us where she got her ugly face. That's from the giant squid used in Poseidon worship to sacrifice females to save a community from the Kraken. The Kraken is just a personification of an angry ocean, an angry sea. How do we know it was 1687 BC? I have many, many date monikers that show you the actual date, even from ancient caves in Achaia, about the corn goddess. All that stuff dates to that period. It was the Avellino eruption, the worst eruption in the Mediterranean in recorded history. The Avellino eruption was scientifically dated at 1700 BC circa. But that's a scientific bullseye for 1687 BC. Dated by W.J. Perry in his book, Children of the Sun. Don't get Jason started. Children of the Sun, right there. Children of the Sun. W.J. Perry. 550-page book. All about all the dynasties of the ancient Bronze Age collapse on a single day in the month of May in 1687 BC. All right, so the Gorgons, he got some of the details right. That's pretty interesting. Oh, look at that. Perseus on a winged horse holding the head of Medusa. All the elements of ancient institution of human sacrifice to thwart away the Phoenix phenomenon is represented in this one picture. It's right here. Is the Medusa. Yes, it's Avellino, Sandro. Avellino eruption, 1700 BC. The Avellino eruption was Mount Vesuvius detonating, burying cities that were all around it, which was only a recent discovery because priorly we thought the only cities that had been buried by Mount Vesuvius in Italy were Pompeii and Herculaneum. But in excavating Pompeii and Herculaneum, archaeologists found out and said, whoa, these cities were built on a rather new surface. And that surface itself was a previous volcanic explosion about that layered about 60 to 100 feet of ash and pumice. When they dug down further, they found a whole nother civilization way older than Rome. That was in cities down there. The Avellino eruption killed a lot of people. I've even seen some of the skeletons. So there's Avellino eruption is Mount Vesuvius in the year 1700 by scientists, but it was actually 1687 BC. They're only 13 years off, but actually they're accurate because they don't give exact dates. They give approximates. In chronology, we don't deal with approximates at all. As anybody who has read my Chronicon knows this. All right, so that's the Medusa. There's the Medusa again. Gorgon's winter. We've all heard the story. So we're moving right along. Here's the griffin. It's another chimera type beast. The griffin is compounded of the eagle and the lion, the noblest animals of their kinds. Wrote Sir Thomas Browne in the year 1646. So it's another composite beast like the Christian tetramorph found in the very beginning of the book of Revelation that's giving the interpretation come and see of the breaking of the seven seals. So Alien wrote about them in the year 150, talking about they were known in Scythia. Herodotus of Halicarnassus in his book The Histories, 440 BC, described them in Scythia, among the Scythians themselves. It's all very interesting. So what we're really looking at here, when Herodotus describes them and Alien, listen guys, they're not describing real creatures at all. The Scythians are the same blood stock of the ancient Tartarians. And the royal standard for Tartaria was a griffin. Here it is right here. A lot of this stuff has been buried in history, guys. These creatures didn't exist. They were only assumed to exist when people from the Mediterranean and Near Eastern world made their treks up north into the northern steppes in central Eurasia, and they come across people that had flags and standards and artwork that showed these creatures. But this creature is the royal standard for Tartaria. So it's not a creature that actually ever existed. All right, now I think we got some more pictures of the griffin. There's another griffin. There's another griffin. Not Peter Griffin, but a griffin. Oh, here's a George and the Dragon type theme right here. Yeah. Why is it a George and the Dragon type theme? Because here it is. Here's the knight slaying the dragon. In this instance, we have this is going to be a winged horse. The griffin takes place of the Pegasus, and the knight takes place of Perseus, the destroyer. The dragon takes place of the Kraken, but you still have the beautiful Andromeda right there. And that's in the ancient Greek legend, Andromeda was chained to a rock. So how ancient are these? How ancient is this material? Well, let's look at some Sumerian seals. How about that for a griffin? Yeah, that's not too old. That's about 1200 BC, and it's not Sumerian. It's Middle Assyrian. It's Middle Assyrian, which is 600 years after Sumer collapsed. Very interesting. There it is. So, oh yeah, these are the Harpies. Harpies and sirens. An ill-omened encounter. Well, they gave women a bad rap, didn't they? First, we had the Banshees. Damn, you hear a Banshee keening, man, somebody's going to die. And someone's going to die around you, or you're going to die, or a loved one's going to die. And then you can't even hope for it to be a foreigner that dies. It's going to be somebody kin to you. Why? Because you can't even hear a Banshee if you're not pure blood Celtic. So, the Banshee, and then we have Tiamat, the seven-headed dragon of chaos, who gave birth to all these monsters. You got Eve, who took the apple, and because she took the apple, she literally introduced sin into the world, which is old Babylonian sin doctrine. I have the book right there. It has nothing to do with the real story. I told you guys from the beginning, the Jews in Babylon in the 5th century BC made up Adam and Eve. It's a complete fiction. They made it up because they totally misunderstood what Adamu and Kava was in the cuneiform text on the descriptions before the flood. When they were reading the Karsag tablets and the Atrahasis epos and the Epic of Gilgamesh, they come across other texts that were talking about the people before the flood, the Amenkendu, and how they were described as Adamu. The Adamu in cuneiform, Babylonian cuneiform, simply means mankind. And Kava simply means females. So this is where you get your Adam and Eve from. And So women got a bad rap. I mean, even later in the Achaean times, before the Dorian invasions that made the later Greek people that we're familiar with, we had the same thing. We had the Phoenician type ancient Greek peoples that had this belief that a female was specifically told not to do something, and she did it anyway. In the tradition that's come back down to us as Pandora's jar, but more recent versions call it Pandora's box. But it was originally Pandora's jar, and she opened it up and released all the evils into the world. So here it is again. Females getting a bad rap as the sirens and the harpies. Here it is. See, Hesiod's Theogony, he relates that the harpies are the offspring of Thomas and Oceanid, Electra, of Iris the rainbow, and that some of the harpies by name, Asipeti, Rapid, and Elo, Storm, later joined by Kileno, the Dark One. The harpy Podarge means Fleetfoot, appears in the Iliad. In the quest of the Golden Fleece, harpies vex Jason and the Argonauts and torment the blind Thracian king seer Phineus when he sits to eat. Harpies are similar in form to the Furies and the Sirens. Wow. Yeah, the women got a bad rap. I mean, even what is it? The Norns, the three Norns, they're blind. Three witches that are also in the Perseus legend. So Odysseus survived his encounter with them by being tied to the ship's mast. Yeah, when you hear the wails like a banshee, when you hear the wails that drives you crazy, you jump off the ship and you drown in the water. Yeah, man. So, but they go back. Look, this is ancient Egyptian. These are Greek, Achaean, Phoenician, Syrian. Here they are. This is probably drawn in the Renaissance period. These are harpies. They cause men to dream and to die. Here's harpies again. Man, that's a big old harpy right there. What is this? Man, that's so small. That is so tiny. Book 3, Virgil's Aeneid from the 1800s. It's just an illustration from a book. It's a giant harpy. They got her in a cage. Sirens and Draconeopides, serpent women. And then harpies are preventing King Phineus from eating. I just showed that one too. Belief in harpies and sirens goes back to Sumerian and Egyptian times. Interesting. So yeah. Oh, we're doing pretty good. About 1,300 people in the chat, but we need to look at another monster, another serious monster. I told you guys there's monsters you've never heard of before, ever. So I'm gonna have to introduce you to them. Go ahead and check my chat, see what's going on. So why is this still shown on the screen? There it is. 3 witches and 1 eye. Yeah, that's good. That's a good observation. I remember that. I don't know if that's in the Greek text, but it may be something like that. Dagda Madoc, your name comes from a monster. Hell yeah, god of the Tuatha Danann, the Dagda. Yeah, you thought I didn't know that. All right. Thank you, Mr. C, for the new website and links. Okay, we're not done. I got to show you guys another monster. You guys know I'm not going to I'm not gonna leave you without, because we gotta see it. Now, I've already introduced to you guys the creature called Dunning-Krueger. So don't get scared when I show you another one. All right. So this is a barf parrot. I'm gonna tell you something. This is a real monster. These are barf parrots. Now, you see these parrots here. You know, parrots like to parrot things. These are barf parrots. Barf parrots are they're birds that are in the position to give someone a tree, and from that tree they can tweet to a lot of people a whole bunch of bullshit. These are barf parrots. Barf parrots are dangerous because they literally build the world that we're living in right now. Because barf parrots absolutely, they're like enablers for the Dunning-Krueger monsters of the world. It is absolutely toxic environment when barf parrots freely give Dunning-Kruegers so much time and space, because this affects the field and it causes the masses to be dumbed down. And generally intelligent people who don't know otherwise, they don't know that there's dragon slayers out there. They don't even know that there's iconoclasts out there that can collapse that whole paradigm. They just don't know. They can't know because of the role of the barf parrot. The barf parrot is a very sinister creature because they don't even believe the Dunning-Kruegers, and yet they still allow those other creatures to have so much playtime, because that's what it's all about. That's what monsters do. Monsters build for you a world of the artificial because they don't want you to know who you are and where you're going. That's the key here. That's the whole thread of what monsters and creatures do. The barf parrot is particularly vile because it's nothing but garbage coming out of their platforms. It's nothing but garbage coming out of their trees. But most people just don't know. They just don't know that these barf parrots are a part of the control structure, and they work very tightly with the Dunning-Krueger monsters, and they affect your dreams, and your dreams affect your world. So, yeah, I just wanted to introduce you to the barf parrots of the world. Oh, there's a lot more. There's a lot more Dunning-Krueger monsters and barf parrots out there that I'm letting a bunch of them make it right now because I've kind of bit off what I can chew for 2024, but 2025 is going to get real interesting. Yeah, we're dragon slaying. All right. Oh, I still have some very interesting monsters to show you. Yeah, man. So let's get this out of here. Remove that from studio. Yeah, man. So let's I just want to remind you guys, this is just a small educational video with some humor wrapped in it. But we're dead serious 2 days from now. On Christmas Day, you're going to hear some amazingly profound, your spirit is going to vibrate with what you hear. Because the teachings of Jesus, they're not known to Christianity at large. They're known to a few, but I'm about to put it together for you guys. Your spirit is going to soar listening to Jesus's words as I describe what Jesus was doing when he said these things. So Yeah, Christmas Day. I hope you guys can join me. All right. So that's the Dunning-Krueger monsters and the Barf parrots. But we still got to do it. Yeah, I keep grabbing the wrong bottle, man. I got 2 bottles over here. Matter of fact, room temperature coffee. Can't go bad with that. All right, so let's continue. So we gotta continue. We gotta get through this book. What is this? 1 hour and 45 minutes. Oh, you know what? 45 more minutes. We should be wrapping this up. So, Hydra and Cerberus. Let me present, share screen. All right, make sure you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. Okay. I'm looking on my phone. There's the delay. Okay, so apparently there's like a 4-second delay. All right. So, Hydra and Cerberus. Now, I've done some dissertations on Cerberus before concerning the Sphinx in Egypt and its role guarding a portal to the underworld, and this is exactly what the tradition of Cerberus was and why it was 3 heads instead of 1. Why Cerberus guards the gate to the underworld. It's and the ancient traditions that referred to an ancient dog that protected a holy site with 3 mountains. Yeah, that's Great Pyramids. Believe me, it's the Dunning-Kruegers and the Barf parrots that have got you believing that statue was a lion. It's feline. It's not. It's canine. They even had to redo the paws in brick. It's not even a part of the original structure. And the head can fit within the confines of Anubis, the dog. The whole Sphinx head. The pictures they take makes it look wide, big old head. No. I've got drone footage I've showed on my channel that shows the body's this big and the head's a little pea, because the entire head and headdress of the Sphinx was carved within the anatomical confines of Anubis's neck. Anubis's head is missing, and the front part of the Sphinx body is missing because they had to carve out the feline front paws, and they had, the canine front paws, and they had to create feline paws, and they did it with brick. But the Sphinx was originally one single outcrop of limestone that had been carved. So yeah, man, it's all kinds of BS psyops, but that's what Dunning-Krueger monsters do. They change the world so you'll see things that weren't necessarily there. Yeah, and then the Barf parrots make sure a whole bunch of you see those things. All right. So Hydra and Cerberus. We're not going into too much detail about those. Here's Hydra again, 7-headed Hydra, like a miniature dragon. The Hydra was interesting because this is the Hydra of Lerna. It was interesting because when Hercules battled the Hydra, he had to be careful because when you beat down a head, it just pops back up later. They resurrect. And that is an ancient Greek vase. The right here, Cerberus. This is an ancient Greek vase right here. These other ones are just like woodcuts and illustrations, lithographs. Oh, that's a really good one. I like that. Hercules and Iolus. Not sure what that is. This is Nicolo van Elst, 1608. Hercules and Cerberus. 1608. Pretty good. Uh-oh, we're moving into something. Is that the genie? No, it's the Jinn. Same thing. Now, as I've showed in my prior presentations, there's a lot of people who believe that the race of Jinn were the race that occupied our world before the coming of the present Homo sapien species. Jinn, or the genie. In Muslim and Arabic lore, they dwell amongst ruined buildings, haunting and prowling unclean places in deserted wilderness of the vast Arabic wastelands. Like the lowliest example of their kind, the ghoul. Wow, so they're related to the ghoul. The Jinn are aerial animals with transparent bodies, which can assume various forms, like a burning bush. So, that was written by Al-Qazwini, 1203 to 1283 AD. In the Quran, Allah creates 5 orders of such being out of smokeless fire. Jan are the weaklings, Jinn are the social ones, Shaitans are the devils, Ifrits are the demons, Marids. Wow, Marids are rebels? Marits in ancient India were demonic rebels. In Arabian, they're called Marids, rebels. Okay, most of them peacefully coexist with human beings. Pretty interesting. So these are the Jinn and the genies. There's another one there. These are all pictures from old. This is the Arabic Book of Wonders, the Demon King of the Jinns. Zaba, that's almost like Humbaba or Humbaba of the Epic of Gilgamesh, who was a demon. Gilgamesh and Enkidu defeated the demon of the West, called Zimbabwe. Okay, Friday and Jinns. Okay, so that's old Arabic manuscript about the Jinn. What is an old Arabic manuscript about the Jinn got a Jewish star doing back there? How'd that happen? That's a topic for Archaics TV. Lamasu and Manticore. Lamasu and Manticore. Here it is. The Lamasu is a hybrid mythological animal originating in Sumeria. It has a male human head, wings of an eagle, and body of a lion or a bull. Wow. Representing the 4 fixed corners of heaven. I didn't even have this book when I did my Zodiac. I told you guys the Zodiac is new. But the 4 corners of the Zodiac that represent a man, an eagle, a lion, it used to be a man, a phoenix, a man, a phoenix, a bull, and a lion, are the 4 royal stars of heaven. Fomalhaut, Regulus, and I can't remember the other 2. But the original concept was the 4 corners of heaven, and they're all on the ecliptic, and then the pole star forms the cosmic pyramid. Later on, someone filled in the spaces between the stars with constellations that don't even really fit right and called it the circle of animals. Somebody circled the square of heavens. That's the title of my video. It's right here in this book. Amazing. Amazing. Somebody said Robert Seffer, recent vid on swastika and Star of David being a natural common pair seen in many. Yeah, it's swastika is ancient. Ancient. I need to reach out to Mr. Seffer. We got all kinds of things we could chat about. We could talk about. I really wanted to contact him when I was in San Diego, passing through LA, and just see if he wanted to meet for coffee or tea or something, man. But I was crunching for time. Yeah, I like Mr. Seffer. I got all. He may have more than 3 books, but I've got Gods of Amnesia, Species of Amnesia. Oh, I'm sorry, but he got another book I did a book review on. I did a book review on one of his other books after I read it. But I've got Species of Amnesia, Gods of Amnesia, and the one I did the book review on about Zebediah Levy. No, Sean, the Barf parrot is not the most insidious monster of all. No, the Dunning-Krueger creatures are not even the most insidious. That's yet to come. It's a whole new monster. I promise you. You've never seen anything about them, but you're going to recognize them as soon as you see them. So I'm telling you now, yeah, the Barf parrots are bad, the Dunning-Kruegers are bad, but this monster that's coming up, it's the worst. It's the worst. All right. So, Lamasu and Manticore. Some ugly. A female Lamasu is effectively a sphinx, although a sphinx may also be shown wingless, much like a manticore. The prevalence of lion people in the ancient world stretches back 4,000 years to the Egyptian goddess Sekhmet. Not Sekhmet, the goddess of the calendar that I've talked about so much. What? Even in the Old Testament, there were lion-like men descended from the Nephilim giants. They were called Ariels. Around 450 BC, the Greek physician Ctesias reported the existence of a living lion man, the deadly Persian Manticore. Pliny quotes him, saying, Manticora, having 3 ranks of teeth, with the face and ears of a man, with red eyes, the color of sanguine, bodied like a lion and having a tail, armed with the sting of a scorpion. Natural History, Book 8, Passage 30. Manticore. Oh, look at that Manticore. Looks like an Englishman. Wow. Let's see. Now, this is all relatively new. You need to see ancient depictions like this. That's a Lamasu. Right there. That's a Lamasu. Also called caribou, also called teraphims in ancient cuneiform. I'm sorry, in Hebrew. They are the teraphims. This is a Lamasu from Nineveh, about 700 BC. Then we have another representation of the goddess Sekhmet right here. There's a goddess Sekhmet right there. Another little primitive manticore. He looks so happy. He's actually got a cat face. Hell yeah. Uh-oh. Leviathan. There's my dog. My dog must have heard it. Leviathan, the piercing serpent. Wow. There's Leviathan. Twisted in folds. Same in the Prose Edda as the Norse Jormungandr. Huge monster. The Midgard serpent. Lotan of the ancient Ugaritic Canaanite text. Lotan, the coiled, 7-headed Semitic god of the deep. Wow. Timtum of Hedad Baal, Syrian seals dating from 1700 BC. Timtum is the Syrian Leviathan, the murderous 8-legged Kraken from the Old Norse Krakai, twisted, cranky. There he is. That's Leviathan, the opposite of Behemoth. Here's a Kraken. It's a very small one. As Krakens go, it's a giant squid, but it's a small Kraken. This is from 1893. Fishing boat attacked by a giant squid, drawn by W.A. Cranston. In 1893. In recent years, video footage has been captured for the very first time of this notoriously elusive species. Wow. Another famous sea monster from ancient Greek mythology was Scylla, who had 4 eyes, 6 long snaky necks equipped with grisly heads. Wow. Shark's teeth. Wow, that's just too much there. In Homer's Odyssey, and the hero Odysseus has to steer his boat between them. Okay. This illustration's a little unbelievable. But then again, there's been some reports of gigantic creatures in the ocean. Uh-oh. Yahweh defeating Leviathan, order overcoming chaos, engraving by Gustave Doré. 1865. Sea serpent attacking a boat from the Swedish cartographer Olam Magnus. 1490. I don't know. Oh, Yahweh attacking Leviathan was the first picture. It just put them all on the same page for me. Yeah, there's Yahweh attacking Leviathan, which you already know my position. That's just one demon telling another demon to get out the way. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Now, how would you feel if a tree suddenly burst into activity and you realize, oh shit, this isn't a tree? You get lifted off the ground and all of a sudden you just can't free yourself, and because this tree is about to eat you and you have to look down at two of your armed homeboys just staring at you. Like, damn, you guys ain't gonna come over here and try to help me get out this tree? I don't know. I may be too hard on these guys, because you see unusual shit, you might freeze up too. Mandrake, also called a mandragora, is a plant, a low-growing perennial with attractive red berries found in the Mediterranean region of southern Europe. A pretty and unassuming little plant, it is actually an all-poisonous member of the nightshade family, also known as Satan's apple. It contains delirium-inducing alkaloids known for their hallucinogenic and local anesthetic properties. Wow, that changes the whole meaning of the picture. This dude was trying to take something from that bush, got hit up with the hallucinogenic stuff, so his homeboys are actually watching him trip out. He thinks he's dying, getting strangled and all kinds of stuff. He's just trapped up in the bush. Wow. That's a damn shame that a poison narcotic would have you tripping so bad you might strangle yourself and then go to the next life swearing up and down that you got ate by a mandrake. Bush thief. All right. Let's see here. Satan's apple. Yeah, I would. So another type of hybrid plant person is a dryad, from the Greek drus, oak. It's an oak fairy. I talk about them all the time in my Phaelorn Saga series. For those of you who don't know, and I'd appreciate it if my moderators would put this in there, but I have a epic fantasy series that I literally read for you on YouTube. I have a whole other channel called the Phaelorn Saga, and you can go straight into it. It's got some pretty good imagery and all that, but mainly it's me reading my epic fantasy story about a fairy apocalypse that happens in the world of Dagathar. And yeah, we talk about all these creatures, dryads, hamadryads. Yeah, all here. So we got some interesting. This poor guy here did it to himself. Here's some dryads, females that can change into trees. If you look real closely, you can see the female forms in the trees. Here's some more. There's the mandragoras or mandrake. Here's some depictions of a male and female plant. Uh-oh, we're moving right along. Moving right along. So, mermaids and fishmen. Now, I've gone into a lot of detail too on my channel, explaining to people, look, man, these gods, Dagon, these Oannes, sea crops, all these civilization founders were mariners. And they're always depicted as half fish or fish scaled or fish tailed. When they weren't, they came by ship. But when they appeared on ships, the ships were beyond the frames of reference for the local inhabitants. So you can easily say, Jason, but that's kind of arbitrary. How do you know it's beyond their frames of reference? We're talking about things thousands of years ago. Well, I can only base things by scientific observation. And what I mean is when Captain Bird arrived to, was it Bird? Man, I don't, James Bird. Whoever it was that arrived from the English Navy to Australia and first came into the first Englishman to come into contact with the Aborigines of Australia. Later on, they had gotten a girl to translate. And because when Captain Cook arrived and he and his men went on shore, they had been off the coast for a couple of days. When they finally got in their boats and came to shore, all the Australian Aborigines avoided eye contact. And they froze when the Englishmen came near them. When the Englishmen were puzzled and they walked away, then the Aboriginals would resume their normal activities as if nothing was wrong. It puzzled the Englishmen. But later on, when they left and came back with a translator, when they came with the translator, explained to Captain Cook and his men that the Aboriginals saw your white skin and thought you were ghosts, and it's very disrespectful to look upon the naked bodies of ghosts. So that was the Aboriginal belief. So also the Aboriginals ignored them because they had never seen ships before. They didn't know what those were. They couldn't even process what it was. Half of the Aboriginals claimed there was nothing there, and that the ghosts had just come out of the water. They didn't know what those things were floating out there. Never seen anything like that before. There's no frame of reference. So the dead just appeared out of the ocean to them. Yeah, that's modern scientific observation applied to ancient mythological stories. Oannes, fish god, Dagon, fish god, Cecrops, fish god, Enki, half fish, all of them are civilization bringers, civilization bearers, and they were all attached in the traditions to being a part of the sea, a mariner race. That's what it is. So this is what you're looking at here. Look, Mary, this is all just an attachment to somebody who's known, who has come from overseas. Right here, again, Oannes, Babylonian version of Enki, came in a fleet of ships from overseas. There it is. Remember, the ancient concept of the centaur, upper body of a man, lower body of a horse. They merged the concepts that made sense to them. Coming out of the sea. And of course, this gave rise to the legends of the mermaids. Yeah, the mermaids, guys. Now, I'm going to tell you now, mermaids have gotten a lot of people in trouble. So, mermaids have gotten a lot of people in trouble. Which leads us to another monster that I need to bring to your attention. I've already shared with you the Dunning-Krueger monsters of the world, just some of them. There's a lot more. And then how the Barf parrots work with the Dunning-Krugers to put out a whole false paradigm out there for the masses to fall for. So now there's a lot of people out there in the collective who, because they have fallen for a totally different paradigm, they automatically dismiss the Dunning-Krueger monsters because they believe they found something that protects them from those creatures. Therefore, they don't even entertain the Barf parrots. And they keep their world separate from the Barf parrot. But this third category of monsters is responsible. It is the most heinous. They are responsible for the majority of the soul stealing that's going on throughout the world. I'm going to introduce you guys now to soul stealers. This is the third monster I wanted to introduce you to. Way worse than the Dunning-Krueger creatures and the Barf parrots. Let's do it. So let me find. Well, Get rid of this. Stop screen. All right. Okay, so let's move on. I'm going to present this video real quick. You guys know, these are soul stealers. This is serious shit here. These are the soul stealers. I need to make sure you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. These are the true devils. Yeah, not mythological, not monsters, not Dunning-Kruegers, not Barf parrots. These are the ones you need to watch out for. These are the soul stealers. These are the ones that out of their mouth they tell the world that they're allied to God. But by their actions, they fleece the wealth of the sheep. Yeah, this is who they are. Yeah, these are far worse than barf parrots. Barf parrots are just ludicrous. And those who have any modicum of education whatsoever understands their role. They don't really know anything. That's why they always interview other people. But the most of the people, not all of them, but most of the people they interview are Dunning-Kruegers. So that type of creature there, that works really close with the barf parrots, and they create a whole paradigm of misinformation for all the collective. But those among the collective who resist that type of information, they just fall for the soul stealers. These are the two major paradigms of the world in the collective. This is what it is: religion and mystery. This is what it is. Oh yeah, you guys have seen a bunch of these. You guys have seen a bunch of these people. You know who they are. You guys know who they are. So y'all look at that. That's a lot of people have done videos exposing Kenneth Copeland. A lot of them showing, oh man, this dude looks terrible. And then here's Joe Osteen. Now I'm going to tell you now, his name Osteen kind of triggered me. I said, man, that sounds like Osteen. So I looked it up. I'll be damned. They try to cover it up on Google. Why would you try to cover it up? I don't understand why. Why go to such great lengths to present Joel Osteen as just being a normal American guy who just happens to love Jesus and just happens to want to preach the word and happens to want to be, have this huge mega church and not let in all the hurricane victims and shut them out in Houston. But as soon as a synagogue gets damaged, you let all the people in the synagogue come fill your church and use it for as long as they need. So kind of weird, like Osteen. So I found out, oh wow, I looked him up and I couldn't believe it. Google tried to sanitize it, saying that he's distantly related through his mother to Jewish ancestry. What? There's no distance about it. There's no distance about it. That's what they require through the mother. So anyway, it's just crazy. So crazy. The man makes a tremendous amount. Look at this crybaby here. Jimmy Swaggart. I'm sorry I slept with that woman. But I promise you, I've been saved by the Lamb. He got caught, man. He got caught so many times. It's crazy. Where's these other ones? Where's these other soul stealers? They're in there. There's another soul stealer in there. Wait a minute. You got Tim something in there. I can't remember his name. You got this dude. Oh my God. Is it Hagee or Hagen? Oh, this guy here. Oh yeah. This guy here is preaching the word. He becomes like the director of TBN. This guy here, Turner Broadcasting. This guy here gets epic level attention. He's moving up in the ranks. He's washed in the blood of the Lamb. He's doing all that stuff. And on the side, every weekend, he's buying meth and he's doing some really unholy things to this young man. But the young man's a willing participant. So while he's preaching one thing, he's doing another. While he's taking in all this money from his parishioners. And then one day, the young man that he's laying it to finds out who he is. That's this guy's story right here. Finds out who he is and realizes, oh my God, this dude's a famous preacher. Turned his ass in. He shows up within the next 3 months, giving all kinds of explanatory sermons, man, why we got to forgive, why we got to do this, denies things until finally the evidence is overwhelming and he finally has to just capitulate. Yeah, man. It's crazy. It's crazy, guys. Yeah, man. Where are we at? Who's all these guys? Every one of these guys, huge, ultra rich televangelists, sons of Belial, every one of them. This is the worst species of demon right here. Anyone who's going to harvest massive wealth for personal use. Yeah, massive wealth. While at the exact same time, preaching that what they do is that they're allied to God. It's crazy, guys. That's the soul stealer. This is the soul stealer right here. And this is just some of them. This is just some of them. It's crazy. The New Testament teaches you not to be greedy. But this man here, oh my God. Joel Osteen, the New Testament teaches you not to be vain. But what does he do? He has surgery that alters his face. Why would you do that? Why would you go to such lengths to alter your physical appearance? Yeah, man. You guys know. You guys know. Ain't dumb. Yeah, so this is the worst species of demon right here. Far worse than the Dunning-Krugers. They're just ignorant and get paid to be so. And way, way worse than the Barf parrots, who really don't have a message of their own. They just let the Dunning-Krugers of the world take the platform. So these are the far worst, because these are the ones who publicly put it out there that they're trying to help you establish a relationship with the oversoul. But in every incident here, it comes at great price financially. Yeah. Screw these dudes. All right. Let's remove that. Let's get back into my... Yep. Wendy Flores, they will lie to you with a smile on their face. Yes, they will. Yes, they will. All right. So where are we at now? Those are the mermaids. Well, mermaids got a lot of those guys in trouble, but a mer boy got one of them in trouble. Uh-oh. Is that the Minotaur? Is that the Minotaur? The Minotaur of the Labyrinth. The offspring of Pasiphae, Queen of Crete, and a majestic white bull sent to her by Poseidon, god of the sea, the dreaded Minotaur. Had the body of a man and the head of a bull. They put him in the labyrinth. Eventually, Theseus went into the labyrinth, sought out the Minotaur, and killed him. Yep. Really good. The Minotaur is a symbol of the goddess cult. Yeah, it's far older than the patriarchal takeovers of the Mediterranean and Near East that was later. The original bull motifs were found like at Göbekli Tepe and Catalhuyuk and the Huyuk and Tepe sites in Turkey. What was it? Jericho, where the bull motif has been found. Oh, all over Knossos. Yeah, Knossos and Crete. So it was originally a goddess motif. And the reason the bull was a goddess symbol was because of the bull's horns. And the bull's horns were to remind you of the horns of the moon, which is a goddess symbol. It's a really good picture right there. Theseus and the Minotaur. You see the human bones all over the labyrinth on the ground, all the victims of the Minotaur. It's basically showing you that the Minotaur is something else because bulls don't eat people. There's the labyrinth. Kind of blurry. I may have taken that picture a little too fast. And then we're moving on to Nagas and Naiads, and other creation serpents. So Naga, from the Sanskrit for cobra, are serpentine semi-divine deities from Hindu mythology. This goes back. I mean, the Naga could even go back to Adam and Eve in the garden. Because remember, a Naga wasn't really a snake. I mean, the Hash wasn't really a snake. It was an interpreter. It was another personality that was there that was later identified as the serpent. Just like Enki's symbol was the serpent. Well, what was Enki? He was a benefactor. How do we know Enki was a benefactor? Because he helped mankind survive the flood. He also, Enki in the Akkadian cuneiform, there are even references to Enki going up against the other Anunnaki and stopping them from using weapons of mass destruction against humans. So, yeah, and that makes Enki a benefactor. So, the Nagas, Vasuki is the serpent king regarded in Asian mythology as being one of the 8 great dragon kings. And then it talks about Fuhi and Nuwa. The dragon kings. Let me give you a little spiel real quick. So in ancient Sumer, which the Sumerian original developmental pictographs match the old Chinese pictographs, are very similar. Then later, culture changed the pictographs into Chinese symbols. Just as in Sumer, culture changed the original pictographs into logograms. And we have its culture and time changing them, but it's already been seen that Chinese and Sumerian come from the same parent source. Well, they also have the same traditions from before the flood. They also have a common denominator that the Chinese and the Sumerians both recorded their history before and after the flood. They also believe that there was a dynasty of kings that ended at the Great Flood. In the Sumerian text, it was 8 kings, but only 7 were allowed to rule. This is in the Sumerian text. It's the Sumerian king list. There's 8 kings, but only 7 got to rule because the Great Flood came. They ruled for 241,200 shars, which is turnings of the stars, meaning they only ruled for a 670-year period. It's that simple. It's the same 670-year period mentioned by Nostradamus concerning the Phoenix. What happened in the ancient Sumerian times? Well, the 670th year was the year 2239 BC. The Phoenix phenomenon, it's called the Great Flood of Noah, translated in Chinese as Nuwa. Now, so interesting that 7 kings ruled for 241,200 shars, 670 years. But in the Chinese version, they ruled for 646 years. And they were called the Dragon Kings. Why were they called Dragon Kings? Because they were dragon-faced. What does that mean, Jason? Why are they dragon-faced? Were they Nagas? No. Dragon-faced means they had a beard. This is why Asian dragons are all bearded. To be bearded in ancient China meant that you were of the race of royalty. You were allowed to sit on the throne and rule over the basically smooth-skinned Sumerians and Chinese. Where did this ancient tradition further develop? Oh, well, it developed in Pharaonic Egypt. How do we know that? Because the Egyptians were a smooth-skinned people, just like the Sumerian black-headed people, just like the ancient Chinese people. They were smooth skinned. They could grow hardly no facial hair. And in ancient Egypt, once the invaders left, the Anuna, the Amuru, the Hyksos, once they left, what did the Egyptian pharaohs suddenly start wearing? Wooden beards, gilded in gold or silver or painted. Why would you wear a fake beard? Because beards were the symbol of royalty. That's why pharaohs have wooden beards. So they wanted to borrow from that pedigree. Nagas and Naiads, I can't even say, Naiads, the Greek Naiads, Nereids were the daughters of Noah, 50 daughters of Noah. It's really interesting. I've gone through this in my Nunophiles playlist, but the water fairies called Nereids, the 50 daughters of Nereus, are interesting because Nereus is ancient Pelasgian. It's Greek. But the root word is Ner, N-E-R. He's the survivor of the flood. But in the Sumerian, Ner means 600. And we find out in the Bible that Noah was 600 years old when the great flood destroyed the world. And that Ner was an ancient Anunnaki dating system, and it began in 5239 BC. And it counted 600 years, 600 years, 600 years, 600 years, 600 years to the great flood, exactly 3,000 years to 2239 BC, which was the 1656 year of the pre-flood world, since the Phoenix destroyed everything in 3895 BC, causing what is known as the Adam and Eve reset. So it all fits. All these traditions and myths, they all fit together perfectly. All it takes is somebody just to look at all the disparate material and use a cargo cult filter on their research, as well as a multidisciplinary approach. And everything in mythology, it all fits, and it all fits in chronological order. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful construct. These are the Nereids, the daughters of Nereus. These are Nagas again. Fuhi and Nuwa, right here, survivors of the flood, were considered Nagas. Now, why are they considered Nagas? Why would the ancient Chinese consider Noah and his wife Nuwa to be Nagas? Serpent-bodied. Why? Because that is how the ancients regarded benefactors in ancient times. The serpent that entered the garden told the truth to Adam and Eve. Enki, as a serpent, saved humanity twice. Oannes is just a Babylonian memory of Enki, but he was fish-tailed, and he's regarded as a serpent. Cecrops was a civilization founder who fled Egypt in an exodus and founded Athens. He had serpent-tailed and serpent-legged because he's a civilization founder. All these ancient gods that had the lower bodies of serpents were the common denominator is that they were more technologically advanced, had more knowledge, they come from a more ancient culture, and they brought civilization and blessing to a post-reset society that had lost everything. This is the common thread throughout history of these creatures or these figures. Here is the symbol of the serpent, again, the basilisk, as a calendrical symbol. This is an illustration of a phoenix that looks like a basilisk. All right. The phoenix and the fire salamander, vermilion bird. Zuke in Chinese, Zuki, the firebird of the Slavic folklore, thunderbird of ancient America. Wow. Phoenix lives for about 500 years. That's true. We've already determined a Phoenix cycle is 552 years, which is 138 times 4. And I've shown all of them throughout human history in recorded history. Ancient Egyptian phoenixes are also the Bennu bird. We've been through all that. It was displayed at it was displayed with frankincense and myrrh at the mansion of the Phoenix in the Bennu temple at Heliopolis, Egypt. Didn't I just do a video last week showing the great lie of the church and how they took all the belief systems about the phoenix and the palm tree and attributed them to Jesus and then made Jesus into a historical figure when it was only a literary masterpiece? Wow. Here's more confirmation. Didn't even know that when I bought this book. Fire salamander. Let's see. What y'all talking about? What y'all talking about in my chat, man? Oh, I see what you're talking about. I'm not sharing the screen. I got it. Thank you, Face Diaper. So we'll go back and look at those pictures real quick. That'll be easy. So I need to get rid of the soul stealers. I'm sorry about that. I'll show you those pictures real fast. We'll go back to them. Present, share screen. Yeah, I do have my phone turned off during videos. All right. So now I'm sharing my screen. Let me go back to where I was. I do believe we started with dragon, right? We started with dragon. This is where we started. So real quick. Yeah, we can get those likes up too. To at least 1,000. There's the dragon. There's the Chinese dragon. Chinese dragons are always bearded. Symbol of royalty. Dragons right here in this illustration. What are these? The wee folk and the elves and all that? Did I go too far back? I may have went too far back. There's the tree. That's a fairy tree. That's a ghoul. That's the beholder. These are ghouls. Yeah, I went too far back. Here's the zombies of the Hindu, the Mahabharata. Okay, cool. Harpies. Perseus, Medusa. I did go too far back. Dragons. So here's the Harpies and sirens. Harpies and sirens. Oh, here it was. Cerberus. Hydra. Cerberus and Hercules. Jinn. Jinn and genies. Thank you, David Danvers. Ancient Arabic texts. There's the one with the Jewish star in it. I still probably went too far back. There's Lamasu. There's the Englishman, Lamasu. Sumerian Lamasu, Teraphim. Here's Sekhmet, ancient Egypt, goddess of the calendar. Okay, Yahweh and Leviathan. There's a small Kraken. Yeah, those guys are out of there. They ain't finna live that. They ain't gonna live through that. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Here's the guy that's tripping. He went and ate something on that mandrake he wasn't supposed to eat and started tripping balls, and his homeboys are sitting there looking at him like, man, do we go rescue this fool or just let him choke to death? Dryads. Mandrakes. Okay. Here are the Inkies, Cecropses, Oannes, Dagons. These are all memories of mariners who brought civilization after a reset, after a flood. Here's the mermaids. So this is where I was because I introduced to you guys the soul snatchers. There's the bull. There's Theseus and the Minotaur and the labyrinth and the bones on the ground. The labyrinth. There's the Naga. Seven-headed dragon right here. The Naga. Here's the Nereids. These are the daughters of Noah from the Anunnaki Ner. Again, here's Fuhi and Nuwa, the Chinese Noah and his wife, survivors of the flood. Listen, they're civilization builders. That's why she's holding the tongs and he's holding a right-angled square. They're wearing an apron and they have serpent bodies. That's what's being depicted here. They're literally going to rebuild civilization. They survived a reset. They're regarded as benefactors. That's why they have serpent tails. All right, here's our Phoenix. Phoenix is a fire salamander. There's a Phoenix. This is where we left off right here. Phoenix in the flames from the year 1657. Isn't that interesting? Great. In the old world's calendar of 1657 is the year 1 after the 1656 years of the world was destroyed. 1656 was the year the flood happened, but the world was destroyed for a year. So it's really interesting. And it was destroyed by the Phoenix, Typhon, in 1656, our year, 2239 BC. Here it is right here, though. Somebody drew one in 1657. That's pretty interesting. Here's another Phoenix. Oh, this book says that the Phoenix symbol was adopted as a Christian symbol of renewal, resurrection, and immortality. That's really interesting. And then they also borrowed from the Phoenix phenomenon the sun darkening for a 2-hour period in Great Earthquake, which never happened in 33 AD, but it happened in the literary version that was later turned into a historical document in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, which didn't even appear for over 150 years until after the events that they allegedly depict. So Christianity freely borrowed from the Phoenix and from the palm tree belief systems, and then borrowed all these other elements from the Phoenix as well, like darkening the sun and the earthquake, the resets, but totally omitted all mentioning of the Phoenix by the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. Because before 325 AD, as I showed in my video last week about the great lie of the church, a whole bunch of church fathers all made the connection between the resurrection and the Phoenix. And they mentioned the Phoenix over and over and over. Now you only have a few references in the New Testament that mention how God is a giant bird who brings destruction to the masses, while under the protection of his wings, he protects his flock. Yeah, so they're guilty of taking all that material and then removing the palm tree and the Phoenix out of the equation. These are how belief systems develop. They're always borrowing material from previous systems. There's a Phoenix. I think it's a goddess riding a Phoenix. Hold on. Such tiny print in here. So, woman riding a ho-ho Phoenix. Isn't that applicable, being so close to Christmas? In Chinese, it's Ho-Ho, a ho-ho Phoenix. A woman riding a ho-ho Phoenix bird. Her name is Suzuki Hironobu, Japan, circa the year 1750. That's pretty interesting. 1764 was a Phoenix year. In Japanese mythology, the Phoenix always foretells the coming of a new era. Yep. Wow. Pretty interesting. Ho, ho, ho. All right, this is another Chinese Phoenix. I think this is a representation of the Ming Dynasty Phoenix. It's got 7 heads. That's really interesting. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wow. A 7-headed Phoenix. Well, I'll be damned. They're just mixing concepts now. All right, the Sphinx. Greek and Egyptian Sphinx. There it is. Androsphinx, or man sphinx, was widely depicted in ancient Egypt around 1500 BC and featured a human head connected to a resting lion's body. Entire avenues of such sphinxes still line and guard the approaches to tombs and temples of the day. This is 800 years after. This is over 800 years after the Typhon reset called the Great Flood in 2239 BC that completely damaged the original Anubis Sphinx. All right. It's interesting that the original Sphinx in Egypt was a male. Wow. According to Hesiod, the Sphinx was the daughter of Echidna, fathered either by her son Orthrus, the two-headed dog, or Typhon, the phoenix. What? There's your connection to the Sphinx. Remember, Typhon, the phoenix, caused the Great Flood, which would have destroyed the old Anubis statue. After the Great Flood, when all that area was excavated, the Great Pyramids were already old. When it was excavated by pharaohs after that, they carved their own effigies. They took the rest of the Sphinx that was damaged because now the head of Anubis was gone. But they took what was remaining, the stump of the neck, and they carved it into a headdress in a human face. But anybody can look at the photos and see that the face and headdress of the Egyptian Sphinx fits perfectly within the anatomical neck of where Anubis's neck would have continued up. Yeah, it's easy to see. Sphinx has a pinhead, tiny pinhead. Yeah, man. The Sphinx was the Riddler. If you did not answer the riddle of the Sphinx, you were executed. This is a female Sphinx, but it's Etruscan. It's Etruscan, and it dates to 16 centuries after the Great Flood in 600 BC. This one's from Attica in Greece, and it dates from 17 and a half centuries after the Great Flood. Attica, Greece. It's in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Yep. The earliest they can trace the male Sphinx that looks like a lion, the earliest they can trace the cat-type Sphinx is 1500 BC. There are no references to any Sphinxes being lion-like prior to that date. And yet, the Sphinx is far ancient than that. Because it was a dog. I've showed that on my channel. The earliest traditions about the Sphinx that guarded the holy mountains was that it was a canine. Wow, 2 hours and 42 minutes. Man, did I lie? I sure did. Thought this was going to be over faster. Here's the trolls. Look at this. Now, I was going to get creative because you guys already know. Some of you have already guessed that I was going to introduce a monster, the trolls. We got trolls in here already, but I was going to introduce all the YouTube trolls, all the people that have been attacking me and all that. You know what? I said, man, that takes away from the importance of understanding how vital it is for you to recognize a Dunning-Krueger monster and a Barf parrot, and especially a soul stealer. I needed the focus to be on them. So I went ahead and just decided to not do one on the trolls. I'm going to leave them behind in 2025. We'll see. Yeah, trolls are all in Scandinavian lore, German, Northern European lore. You know, like Monty Python, the trolls that hide under bridges. What in Monty Python? What do they say? The troll jumped out and says, "You'll not pass my bridge." And I forgot, was it Sir Lancelot or one of those knights Said, well, I'm going to pass the bridge. And the troll says, you'll have to answer me riddle. And the troll asked the knight, what is the terminal velocity of an English swallow? And the knight says, would that be a red or blue swallow? Or a white or blue swallow? And the troll goes, well, I don't know. And the bridge catapulted the troll out the way. That's Monty Python. That's, bring out your dead. I'm not dead yet. Pop. Yeah, you can tell as a kid, I love those Monty Python movies. Yeah, they were great. All right, let's see. Yeah, the trolls, we zip through the trolls. Trolls are everywhere. We got those, all that. Oh, I love this, though. Some trolls are big as mountains. Other trolls are friendly. It all depends on their disposition, I guess. Look at this. What do we have here? We have Zeus on the left with the Labrys about to attack Typhon, the Phoenix. That's the Phoenix. That's Typhon. Imago, Typhonus, Apollodorum. Here it is right here. Typhon. I can't read this. It's Latin. This is Typhon right here. All the snakes. Typhon appeared in the sky and just wrecked shop. This is the Phoenix phenomenon, guys. I got a whole playlist about it. This is the Phoenix phenomenon. This is Typhon and what he does. Typhon the Phoenix. Here's another representation of Typhon. How do we know that Typhon is a astronomical body, something that appears in the sky? Because that's what it's connected to right here. Typhon. Remember, all these weird things that appeared in the sky and initiated total systemic resets were all called dragons. They're just called different stuff. So remember, yeah, even comets anciently were called dragons. Here's Typhon connected to the moon. Typhon's connected to the sun. Typhon's connected to another stellar body. What is that? What in the hell in the sky that almost looks like the sun is actually the source of power for Typhon? Here it is. Tell you guys all the time. The sky is a multi-tiered hologram. It's an illusion. It's amazing too. It hides all kinds of stuff. There's Typhon again. There's Typhon again. Har and Pier right here. I want to see what that's. Okay, I thought that was Athanasius Kircher. Okay, 1653. All right. Then we have Giovanni Battista Nazari, 1589. And then this third one right here that I'm showing right now is Typhon by Wenceslaus Hollar, 1677, with two of his Harpy children. Wow. Uh-oh, we done got to unicorns. How did we get to the unicorn? This is a picture of a unicorn, more like a hippocampus, but it doesn't even have a horn. In Chinese, they were called qilins or kailins. Seahorses, all kinds of different kinds. Greek art. This is the monoceros. Single-horned horse or whatever. Here's different Asian versions right here. Chinese versions or Japanese. Yeah, I'm at the end. I'm just going through it. Vampires. Oh, you see that right there? He took that wooden stake and hit that skeleton through the head. There's a vampire right there. All right, this guy's got a knife. That's a vampire about to go for a sleeping woman. Vampire is a bat. Shape changer. Can't stand garlic. There's I don't know what that is. Vampire. Dracula. Oh, Bram Stoker. It's a scene from Bram Stoker's Dracula, Transylvanian story based on the cutthroat historical figure Vlad the Impaler. I can't stand that stuff. Vlad the Impaler was not cutthroat. I have a video on my channel about the true history of Vlad the Impaler and why he was demonized. Yeah. Vlad the Impaler was a beast. Vlad Dracul of the Order of the Dragon didn't take shit from nobody. Nobody. He had three main enemies in his life, and he handled all three of them. Yeah, one of them was the Vatican. One of them was the Muslims. And the other one were pretty ubiquitous. A bunch of merchants that kept getting up under his skin. Then we have Wolverines. Oh, we have werewolves and Anubis. Did the legend of the werewolf come from the knowledge of Anubis? Very interesting. That's from 1493, that picture right there. This one's from 1532. No, 1512. 1512. It's a woodcut. Lucas Cranach the Elder, a woodcut. It's a werewolf. Man, look at all those people that got chewed up. Got a baby in his mouth. That's terrible. Maybe lycanthropy is a real disease. Maybe lycanthropy just causes people to go nuts. I don't know. Here's another werewolf picture. This is from 1600. Lycaon, transformed into a wolf by Zeus. An engraving by Hendrik Goltzius. That's crazy. And we're back to the end. You guys know who that is. Bigfoot. It's a Yowie. It's a Sasquatch. It's an abominable snowman. Yowie. I don't even know what that is. That poor bastard there is not going to get out that mouth. That creature is huge in the water. Y'all know what Loch Ness? Somewhere in all my prolific notes, I don't remember where, I showed you some U-boat captain reports about what they were seeing underwater in the Atlantic in World War I and World War II, and they were perfectly describing these creatures right here under the ocean. Looks like Loch Ness Monster. Uh-oh, lunar animals. It's a good little book, guys. I'm really impressed with this book. It had a lot of information in it that I just didn't read because it had been made the 5-hour, 6-hour video. But yeah, it's a good book. And you have now been through the entire book. But the greatest takeaway here, the greatest takeaway is going to be that Mothman, that's a good one. That's a good one, Christine. Mothman and the Skinwalker. Yeah, there's a bunch of new ones. It's no different than the Mowing Devil. It's almost like psychosomatic mental projections we're putting out in the field, and the more people that listen to them, the more life it gives it, and the construct is able to do more with it. This video went way longer than I thought it was going to, but it's okay because it was necessary. It was necessary to show you that not all monsters, not all creatures are easily recognizable. Some of them are Dunning-Kruegers, and you got to watch out for that species. And it's easy to locate the Dunning-Kruegers because they're always going to be working with the Barf parrots. So those are the ones you have to least worry about. Dunning-Kruegers and Barf parrots. But what's absolutely toxic are the soul snatchers, the soul stealers. Those are the ones that get up under my skin The other ones I can just bat them away, like, man, you know, you're insignificant. You're not even relevant anymore. But yeah, it's a special species of nefarious to take in great wealth while promoting lies and promote the idea that you're allied to God, and to tell other people to not be vain, to tell other people not to hoard wealth, and yet turn around and do exactly what you're preaching for others not to do, to lay out all these restrictions and all these methods of payment into your assembly and your church to build great wealth for all these things. To make this right here is the height of iniquity. Yeah, those hypocrites will never enter the kingdom of heaven. It's not going to happen. They're lost, and they're very comfortable with what they do. In 2 days from now, on Christmas Day at 2 p.m. Texas time, I'm going to go through the words of Jesus. I'm going to blow your mind. I'm going to show you what he's really saying, as opposed to what the soul snatchers promote. Till then, guys, I'm going to go ahead and hit this outro, because I have suddenly got very hungry. Very hungry. Let me find, you know what? Let me find a good one. Love you guys.